Hi there. This is your run through on your syllabus. I want to make sure you've seen it and that you understand everything that's in it. The front page of all Delta State syllabi pretty much look the same, or those in the College of Ed pretty much look the same. It gives the title of the course, in this case CSP 350. It gives the course description, and then it gives what we call the Delta P3 model. And the Delta P3 model is how our College of Ed works. And so what you see is that you are the center of our world, the candidates. And what we work on to give you a strong foundation, because you know that a triangle is the strongest of all foundations, a pyramid is. And so we look at your performance, the skills that you can do, your professionalism, how you interact with the people in the professional community and with parents and with children, and then preparation, the content that you know. And supporting you in this process is the Delta State education community, which is all of the students and faculty at Delta State. The alumni, throughout our program, we use a lot of input from people who have graduated from our programs that are now out in the schools in the Delta area. Educational partners, people that support the programs of Delta State, and then our faculty. Our vision at Delta State is that we have a vibrant educational community committed to preparing capable and confident candidates, that's you, who can positively affect learning outcomes of students in P12 school setting. Our guiding principles in the College of Education is first that education is a lifelong endeavor, that it requires an ever-expanding content knowledge. So when you stop learning about education is when you retire. And then most people who retire, they keep on learning because it's become a habit by then. Education is interactive and reflective. One of the things you'll find in our degree program is that we're constantly asking you, what do you think? What does this mean? What are the implications of this? Education is culturally contextualized, and what that means is that you understand how each of us are different, how each of us are the same, and how the differences among us lead us to be the rich community that we are. Education is dynamic, and what that means is that we're driven by assessment. In this class, we have what's called a major program assessment. There are 8 of those in our program, and the one that you have this semester is assessing what you know about interacting with individuals with severe disabilities and how we teach them and how we assess them. And then education is enhanced by technology. Because our program's online, then technology is not just a tool, it's a way of life. Our general course goals and objectives in this class come from the CEC standards, and CEC is the Council for Exceptional Children. That is the governing body for the profession of special education. There are, in the assessment cycle that we're in, there are 10 CEC standards. Now we'll move into a new assessment cycle in January, and then we'll be under a new set of standards. But these are the standards we're under now, and not all of them apply to this class. The ones that do apply, the first one is development and characteristic of learners. One of the set of assignments that you're going to have in this class is to look at characteristics of different disability types, like cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and so on. And so as you're doing that, what you're going to have to know is, how are these individual human behaviors and abilities, how do they affect the life of a person with a disability, and how does it affect the people that are around them? The second thing we'll be looking at is Standard 3, which is individual learning differences, and that talks about how the beliefs and traditions and values across cultures affect the relationships among people in the school community. And it talks about how we proactively look for ways that we can connect the child's specific skills and his cultural heritage to what it is that we're teaching in the classroom. The fourth, and this is a major standard for this particular class, is instructional strategies. How do we know what to teach? How do we know what to teach a particular child or particular group of children, and how does their disability affect the instructional strategies that we select. And then standard 5 has to do with learning environments and social interactions. We teach in an environment. And so when we're talking about kids with severe disabilities and we're talking about them being in inclusive settings, when you have a child who has visual, auditory problems, who has problems with ambulation, in other words, has trouble moving around, fine motor, gross motor skills. When you have a child who has problems with cognition, how do we adjust that environment so that that child can meet the demands of that environment? One of the major standards that we are meeting in this class is language. When you're doing your special project, the project about instruction of kids with severe disabilities in inclusive settings, you're going to be looking at the language arts part of that assessment. And so what we're wanting to look at is for kids who have atypical language development, atypical communication skills. In other words, the kids we're talking about may in fact be nonverbal. Then how do we teach those children? If you've already looked at the discussion with Megan, Megan talks about the fact that Colton does not have a reliable communication system. So how do we know whether he's understanding what's going on in the classroom? And that's the emphasis that we're going to have. Standard 7 is instructional planning. So if we know that we're looking at language arts, if we know that we're looking at the characteristics of the student, we're looking at the cultural environment, the classroom environment, we're looking at the language, now how do we plan the activities and the assessments necessary to be able to teach that child, taking all those other things into account? And then standard 8 is assessment. And again, this is a major part of this class because when you're talking about kids with significant disabilities, assessment is a very different process than it is with kids with mild disabilities, because we're having to look at kids who have fine motor problems and have communication problems, and most of the time to assess kids we have them write or talk, and many of the kids we're talking about can't write or talk, and so how do we assess what it is that they're learning? And then standard 9 is professional and ethical practice. And so on this one, what we're looking at, and this is what we've been looking at this week, is what is the ethical standard that we're held to for children who are so vulnerable, because the more significant the disability, the more vulnerable they are. And the more personal the instruction gets, and the more we interact with the parents. And so what is our professional responsibility? And then standard 10 is collaboration, and everything we do is about collaboration. But when you're working with kids with significant disabilities, then you have to work closely with their parents and work closely with the general education teacher. The outcomes from the Mississippi Department of Education, we're going to be looking at the Mississippi Extended Curriculum Frameworks. What it does is it takes the language arts, the math, and the science curriculum from general ed, and it strips it down to its very, very basics, so that we can take a child with significant disabilities and demonstrate that they have competency in the overarching themes of those 3 content areas. And we'll be looking quite a bit of detail about that. Outcomes connected to the written comprehensive examination. To exit this program, you take a written comprehensive examination that has 4 sets of questions. The 2 sets of questions that we'll be looking at in this class are from Standard 2 and from Standard 3. Standard 2, or the question set B, is looking at developmental issues, and then question set C looks at lifespan issues. Outcomes specific to assignments. Your major assignment in this class is the alternate assessment language project. And you can see here that it's broken down into very specific objectives tied to those standards that we just talked about. And so that goes on for a while. The content, you already know what your textbook is. It was on the cover of our Canvas web shell. Our topics: characteristics of individuals with severe disabilities. You have 4 assignments tied to that. Service delivery patterns, this big project goes to that. Effective teaching practices will come from your textbook. Ethical issues will come from your textbook, from the project, and from the activities you've done this week. And then professional collaboration will be in your textbook and throughout all the activities that you're doing. We've already talked about technology. Diversity is going to be a part of the big project, because we'll talk about how do you address the child's specific diversity needs. Then you see the specific course objectives, and then you see the major course objectives. And as a student, this is all you care about. I'm just kidding, kind of. And that is, how does your grade break down? Your weekly coursework counts 50% of your grade. It's 10% per week. So those activities that are listed for each week, I grade all of those. It gives you a percentage for the week, and then that percentage is multiplied times 10%, and that gives you the percentage for the week. Your final exam is 25%, and it's based on your 7 chapters of your textbook. And then your big MAECF task stream activity is 25% of your grade. Evaluation methods, you see here that the grading scale is the standard one from the College of Ed. Then you have your general course information. This is the same on just about every class that you take in the College of Ed. There are a couple little differences that individual professors do. There's some notes there from me, and there's some notes there from Dr. Kirkendall. I left her notes on if I agreed with them. Notice this one red piece here. It says, I take this personally. I spend considerable time crafting assignments and considerable time grading assignments and giving feedback. This course is a community. We need to trust each other, and that ties to the idea of academic honesty, and you have a separate assignment on that. And then you see the actual schedule of assignments. It has here what the assignment is, what the discussion is, what the quiz is, and what the reflection and rating scale is. And this reflects what is on your Canvas shell. All of these things are on here. I may occasionally add something as we go, because it'll be something that I thought, oh no, I forgot to put this in. Like, for instance, I added today personal introductions that somehow didn't get on here. But anything I add will be small. I probably won't take anything off. Okay. And then here are the directions for your alternate assessment language project, and we will get started on it next week. And that's what we'll actually be doing in your class meetings. And so the next several pages are all about that. So that is your syllabus. That's all you need to know. There will be just a very short set of questions for you to answer to make sure that you've looked at this video and that you've looked at the syllabus itself. The syllabus is on the Canvas shell. If you click on where it says syllabus, that's mainly due dates, but there's also a link to this syllabus there. All right.